Hey there, can you hear me?
Yeah, just give me a sec here.
Okay.
I'm not even plugged in. I had to stick around a couple of minutes. I'm changing desks again.
Oh, okay.
That's always fun.
This is the fourth time I've changed desks in 4 months.
Oh.
Yeah.
I see.
I'm moving into the closet next. I feel like it's office space.
Oh, jeez.
Anyway, good day. How are you today?
You know. Seems like everybody's having issues.
Yeah, what? You're having issues too?
Well, yeah, they switched my hours.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so now I'm working Saturday through Wednesday.
Ugh. Days, though, or?
Yeah, it's still days, but, it's 8 to 4 instead of, 3:30 to, or 7:30 to 3:30, so.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a pain.
That sucks.
Yeah. Really does.
I've had a crazy day. I feel like Anyway, do we want to get into this shit?
Oh, I'm ready to, or?
Yeah, I'm ready to.
Okay.
So, Corey contacted me with 2 headlines this week. Hello, everyone in podcast land. I'm a little hoarse today, so hopefully I don't lose my voice. So, yeah, what did you send me, Corey?
All right, well, this week had 2 different stories involving a similar theme. I mean, I think everybody's heard about the big one, the canceling of Roseanne by ABC, which is, of course, owned by the Disney Corporation. And it's normally, I guess, not really the type of thing that we probably talk about, but, I mean, arguably, Roseanne is, a pop culture icon within, at least our culture.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So yeah, she was obviously she was fired for tweeting on what she later claimed was she later claimed the tweet was because of her sleep aid that she was taking. But yeah, she wound up calling a former Obama administration staffer what would happen if the Muslim Brotherhood and the Planet of the Apes had a baby. So, needless to say, obviously the ABC was all over that and very quickly canceled what was, probably a very profitable show for them. So it was a bit of a surprising.
Profitable. Actually,
yeah.
It was like, I don't know, it might have been the top show.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a bit of a surprise, but at the same time, definitely applaud ABC for their foresight and for their sticking up for their values.
Yeah, that's the right choice to make for sure.
Yeah.
So, and then what was the second story? And then we'll delve into the similarities between the two.
Okay, so the second story was an employee at a credit union wound up losing his job this week for displaying a Walking Dead figure. Little Funko vinyl figure. Now, normally that would sound, absolutely ridiculous until you realize that the figure that he was fired for was one of Michonne's pets, which, of course, depicted a person of color who had his arms chopped off, his jaw chopped off, and had a loop around his neck that Michonne would use to, guide him around. The only problem is that he decided to display this figure without actually having any context to it. And I guess
or displaying the figures that go with it.
Yeah, exactly. So he was displaying this figure alone, and I guess the customer had seen it and complained to staff because she believed that it was a black man with a noose around his neck with his arms tied behind his back.
Yep.
So, initially I was ready to get, upset and, this is ridiculous, this type of thing shouldn't happen, until I actually read the story and realized, honestly, I think the credit union in this case made the right choice, because
So what happened to the lady? That's the one thing that was never released. They were either disciplined, or I wasn't sure if they were let go or not.
Well, the employee was let go because because of the complaint. It was one of those cases where he probably should have taken a closer look at the figure and realized, the possible context, that not everybody's a fan of The Walking Dead. Not everybody knows what the context of the figure is.
Exactly.
So he should have, it's one of those cases where a little bit of foresight might have, helped save him a bit of embarrassment.
It's interesting. So so in that article you sent me on this particular one, did you see what the employee had said about what the figure represented?
Yeah, well, apparently he had actually received the figure from another customer who knew that he collected them. Because I guess he also has, in one of the photographs, you see Carl Grimes from the same series on his desk as well.
Oh, okay. Here's what I remember. What was said in the article was the figure. Now this is what doesn't make sense, but the figure is representative of a strong black woman, basically Michonne. She's like a kick-ass warrior. She had to survive on her own and survive by whatever means necessary. So it was Michonne herself, the character,
actually had the Michonne figure.
Yeah.
If he had the Michonne, the figure was just displayed on its own with the chain hanging around its neck.
Yeah, instead of having Michonne with the figure.
Yeah. At least it would have, sparked some conversation between him and the customer who had actually made the complaint.
Yeah.
But in this case, she just said that she didn't appreciate, the figure. She thought. Actually, I don't think she even really told him what it was. She just.
No, well, there was. It sounds like the conversation was very limited, and the customer went off and complained. I don't even think they had any conversation. They just asked what the figure was.
Yes.
And there was no real context given, but no real context asked either.
Yeah, exactly. But again, it's one of those cases where a little bit of foresight on the employee's part might have saved him. So yeah, I mean, it's two cases where pulp culture was I guess involved in the news and involving racism, which obviously is a big subject of conversation right now.
Oh yeah.
Which is
so when you brought these two up, I was like, what angle are you going with this? Because I'm like, this is really touchy subject matter. But it sparked an anger in me, and the anger was, and I don't want to say this in the wrong context, but very often people will take fandom things like comic books or sci-fi or fantasy, take it in the wrong context, and it gets used for to promote racism or to promote something bad. And I don't like it when my stuff, and when I say my stuff, I mean like our stuff, like our pop culture stuff that we love so much, is used to tell a negative story. It just bugs me. It's like, those are my toys. Why are you using my toys?
Yeah, exactly.
Does that make sense? That's what angered me.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's so many things right now that, where I guess, the fans are being kind of hit by, what's going on in the media right now. Can certainly see, Funko being embarrassed by this story, even though, again, it was a sincere attempt to, replicate characters off of the show. But apparently this employee has actually been him and his wife have been receiving death threats, even though, he doesn't hold any personal racist beliefs. It's just he was displaying a toy on his desk that was, again, taken in the wrong context.
I don't know what the right thing there is to do. Like, I've been accused of things too, and I'm definitely not racist or sexist or anything-ist. Like I love everybody, like maybe too much, anything, right? Like I don't personally I don't see division because I'm kind of ignorant to the way the world works. Like I see someone of color and I don't think of them as color. It's only because we talk about it like, oh, they're like, well, what color were they? I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't notice things like that because I just don't.
Yeah.
Because I'm ignorant to the way the world works and all that sort of stuff. So, I take offense if I get accused of something like that, and then this guy got accused of it, but it was because he didn't contextualize what's there.
Yeah, exactly. He wasn't thinking in terms of, all he was doing was displaying a toy from one of his favorite shows.
I think, personally, I think the person should have been allowed to apologize because he probably felt like shit when he, it went over his head because, I mean, I'm assuming here, like maybe the guy's a full-blown racist. I don't know. But if he wasn't and it was a mistake, I mean, the guy should be allowed the opportunity to apologize, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, in this case, I think the credit union did make the right choice by letting him go because, again, it's something that he probably should have thought ahead on.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the Roseanne thing, there's no question about that. Although, she probably, they probably should have, muzzled her a while back, especially after that Hitler photo shoot that she decided to have.
Oh my god, I didn't even hear about that.
Oh, that's, that's going back a few... It's, I think what really started kind of sparking, some concern over, the show. She had released a couple of photographs of herself dressed up as Hitler.
Oh my god.
And then shortly after that, staffers on the show started complaining about her right-wing politics seeping into the show.
And that was kind of that was the idea of the show too. She was a Trump supporter, which wasn't popular.
Yeah.
And then back in the old days when the show was on originally, she was a blue collar worker.
Yeah.
And it was a true representation of what it was like to be a blue collar. But in a way, like the show hasn't changed because it seems like it's the blue collar people that support Trump. Maybe, like, I'm not sure. I'm not American. I don't understand the Trump demographic that well, but the people that support Trump are probably not. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know enough about Trump.
Well, Trump supporters do come in they come from all walks of life, from all demographics. I mean, there's a couple of very prominent conservative people of color, or persons of color, that do support Trump quite often. It's hard to say what his appeal is, being Canadian, but...
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah.
I still don't get it. But he is... There's still a lot of people that support him.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. I don't want to judge the U.S., but there's...
I think ultimately history is going to... We don't know how history is going to see his presidency. We don't.
Yeah.
I mean...
You and I talk about politics. It's like...
How did we get here?
To quote Robin Williams, it's like two lepers hand wrestling.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I guess what we're saying is we don't support this thing, but please be sensitive to other people, and if something totally flies over your head, if you're as ignorant as I am and you don't realize things because you're not racist yourself, please be apologizing. Please, let people know, I don't know, be sensitive. I try to be as sensitive as I can. And apologize when I say something that maybe is taken the wrong way, because it's definitely not intended that way.
Yeah, I mean, being a cartoonist, especially looking at some of the old Meet the Greek strips and versus some of the ones that I wrote and never actually drew. You know, there's a lot now that I probably wouldn't actually put out there.
Yeah.
Because, you know, again, everything is completely changed.
Yeah. Yeah, because you were, like, in the day, Meet the Geeks was pretty cutting edge. But you had some pretty strong opinions, I guess.
Yeah. And, you know what, honestly, I've evolved since then, so...
Yeah. I think we all have.
Yeah. So, yeah, this kind of went right off the rails, eh?
Sound like too good. But the thing is, we both kind of agree. And
don't be a dick. You know,
yeah, don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah, just don't be a dick. Be sensitive.
Yeah.
We've become soft. We're not edgy anymore. I think that's the issue. Maybe we need to be more edgy.
Yeah, exactly. It's
we suck. That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know how much of this is actually going to be usable. You know, I had an idea, I had it all mapped out in my head, and now I'm just
fine.
like,
we can move on to another topic. I guess I can mention a couple things that have been going on with the podcast, and you can bounce it off of you.
Does this have anything to do with SeanMcGinnity.ca?
Yes, you can find all news and updates related to myself and the podcast that features the greatly talented Corey, Todd, and Tracy on it, and rotational episodes. Yeah, all the news is on SeanMcGinnity.ca. Check it out there. But a couple things came up over the last few days. I've been talking to DecibelGeek podcast.
Yes.
We had Todd and I had a little episode where we kind of talked about them and how good they are. They're a really good podcast, really promoting good music in general. And they had Winnipeg's own Brent Fitz on there. So I had a big shout out to those guys for actually having a Winnipegger on there, because Brent is like Winnipeg royalty.
Yeah.
He's higher up, for me, he's higher up the scale than like Burton Cummings is, for sure. Like, he's done, like, he may not have achieved the heights that Burton Cummings did, but he's been very consistent in his success. I mean, the guy's played for, you know, Slash and Vince Neil and Kiss and, like, you know, I keep saying Harlequin, Streetheart, and, you know, like, it's ridiculous.
Is there any difference between Streetheart and Harlequin?
Kinda. Like, the main guy for Streetheart is definitely not the main guy for Harlequin, so. But, I mean, they're very similar musically speaking. With Streetheart having the edge, I guess the big difference is Streetheart did sell a lot of their songs to mainstream artists. That's kind of the big thing.
Right.
Like, a lot of other bands have recorded their songs. And they probably made more money off that than their actual own career. So, yeah, Kenny Shields is a bit of a genius. Yeah. But anyway, so I've been in talks with them, and fingers crossed, trying to get the Dome CD reviewed by those guys. So, fingers crossed, I've actually sent them everything to take a look at, and I'm mailing out a copy of the CD for them to listen to so they can have a physical copy, because there's always something about holding that CD in your hands, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly. You know, I listen to my CD quite often.
Yeah.
I listen to the CD more often than I do the MP3s.
Yeah, I do too. But that's probably because we don't have vehicles that came after 2010.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still have CD players in our cars. I guess that marks our age. Some people don't even know how to use a CD player nowadays.
Well, I mean, it's, you know, like kids looking at cassette tapes and going, what the hell is this?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, more kids understand vinyl nowadays than they do, you know, analog tapes.
Which is kind of interesting. Would you go back to vinyl?
We haven't really gone back to vinyl yet, but I do have a couple of... We finally have a record player, so I might actually be looking at picking up a few albums.
I've actually gotten rid of everything I had, which I kind of regret now. What was your first vinyl you owned?
Oh God.
Do you actually remember?
It either would have been Michael Jackson's Thriller
Mm.
or the Tron soundtrack.
What? Like the original Tron soundtrack?
The original Tron soundtrack. Yep, on vinyl.
Holy crap!
We also
cool.
had.
You still have it though? Both of those?
No, we don't. Those were long gone. Sold at a yard sale, probably in the 80s.
Because cassettes were so much superior, so more superior.
Exactly.
My first album that I actually bought with my own money was Kiss Dynasty.
Okay.
Bought it at a yard sale for, I'm trying to remember, like $2 or something, or $1.
Okay.
And I wanted it just because of that cover alone.
Yeah.
Which is actually one of the most expensive covers in music history. If you adjust it for inflation, they spent, I don't know how much they spent, but I don't know. I think it might have been something like 50 grand on that cover, 100 grand back then.
Oh, jeez.
But
I could see that.
But I think it had a lot to do with how, like, completely out of it Ace and Peter were, and getting like a proper photo, and they used like the most expensive guy, and then when they took the picture, those were 4 separate pictures that they had to merge, but they didn't have Photoshop back then.
Yeah.
So they had to cut and splice, and oh god.
Yeah, actually, one of the other albums that I had that I played quite often was, let's see if you recognize this.
Okay.
It was a soundtrack for a movie called Trick or Treat.
Oh my god, yeah. I didn't
The music
have it on
was by
vinyl, but I definitely had it on cassette.
Yeah, and I actually had that one on vinyl. The music was by a band called Fastway.
Yes, sir. Those guys were awesome.
The music was really decent. I never actually heard any of Fastway's regular stuff, but I really enjoyed the album, and I guess the overall aesthetic of the film itself.
Oh no, yeah, everything about what that film was about, like, totally touched on every single touchstone for me growing up. Probably the same for you, I'm guessing, too.
Exactly. And Ozzy Osbourne as a preacher.
Oh, like, that's awesome. Like, that alone was enough to make me want to watch the film.
Oh, and Gene Simmons, a radio DJ, too.
Yeah, that was, Ozzy and, that was awesome. But just the general concept of it too was like, I was actually, it's funny. Like, I was listening to an interview with King Diamond this week, and that triggered me to reminded me of Trick or Treat. I don't know why, but do you remember? Now we're going back down the rabbit hole of the '80s. But do you remember there was this album called Metal for Breakfast?
Vaguely.
So on the cover, it showed a metalhead guy, leather jacket, probably had a mullet, I think, if I recall. And he had a bowl of cereal. And in the bowl of cereal was, milk and ball bearings. And that's what he was having.
Yeah.
And that was my introduction to metal in a big way. It had Merciful Fate on there, which is why I was remembering that. So that was my introduction to them. My introduction to, I think Kick-Axe was on there. Definitely it was my introduction to Accept.
Right.
They had Accept Balls to the Walls was on there.
That was on everything.
That was on everything. Yeah. But there was so many songs were on there were played on the Pepsi Power Hour.
Actually, I had the Pepsi Power Hour music collection, which also had, Kick-Axe.
Mm-hmm. All those same bands.
Yep, except Death Angel.
Death Angel, yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, which song was it?
I'm Bored.
I'm Bored?
Yeah.
I like that song a lot. I also like the other one they had, which was Voracious Souls. I don't know if you recall that one. That one was actually a heavy tune.
Yeah.
Those guys are so good. They're still playing, too. They're probably 25 now, because weren't they like... they were kids when they came out.
They were kids at the time.
Yeah. What else? Do you remember what else was on there?
Lee Aaron, Metal Queen.
Oh, yeah, okay. And I think that was on Metal for Breakfast as well.
There was a live version of The Boys Are Back in Town that I have never been able to find because
Actually by Thin Lizzy or by someone else?
Yes, yeah. It was Thin Lizzy. It was a live version of The Boys Are Back in Town. And I have never been able to find that version again.
We can find that now. Like, we've got Spotify, we've got all these services. You told me about that a while ago back, but I think we might be able to find it now.
Yeah, it's possible.
There's Corey's lost song, taking us back to a few episodes ago. My episode that got banned from YouTube for whatever reason. You know what? Actually, all the songs you're saying on there were all the same songs that were on Metal for Breakfast. Because there was also Killer Dwarves. Was that on there too?
Yeah, Killer Dwarves were on there. I Stand Alone.
Oh, good song.
Yeah. I'm wondering if it might have been the same album, just packaged differently.
Well, it was put out, this one I think was put out by Attic Records, which is, I think, Canadian.
Okay.
But it had some European distribution, which is why Accept was on there. Anvil was on there as well. Mad Dog, I think.
Okay, that wasn't on the Pepsi Power Hour.
You remember that song, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's the only Anvil song that I have on my iPod.
Oh, okay.
Is my favorite Anvil tune, so.
Okay. Also Thor, I think, was on there.
No Thor on the Pepsi Power Hour.
I could be wrong. I might have to dig up this Metal for Breakfast thing. And there was a song called Metalhead on there, too. I can't remember who it was by, but I don't think it was a metal band. It was a band...
Weren't they, wasn't it like a comedic...
I'm a metalhead.
Metal, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember the video for it. You know, where he puts on a tattoo with a stamp.
Yeah.
A bunch of motorcycles take off, and he's riding a bike.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was kind of a spoof of metal, but I don't know if they were actually a metal band or not.
Yeah, it might have just been one of those, one-hit wonder things.
Man. All right, so now I'm getting an idea for another episode, which we can discuss on the air because I'm not home yet.
Okay.
I think we should put a compilation together of our favorite songs from that era.
Okay.
Keep it down to like 10 tracks. Nothing more than 10 tracks, or maybe even less.
Is that 10 tracks per person or 10 tracks
10
all
tracks
together?
Per. And then
Okay.
what we should do is we should create a playlist on Spotify or Google Play or whichever. And that'll be the Meet the Geeks / Sean Geek playlist.
Sounds good.
But it's got to be probably many of the songs we've already mentioned just today. But I think it'd be kind of fun, and we'd kind of make our own mixtape.
It's going to be hard to whittle it down to just 10.
Well, send me the list. Do your list and see how well you do. If you get it to 20, we're going to have a lot of crossover, I think, though.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, definitely. But we'll try to stick it to 80s, maybe even early 90s at the latest. But I think we'll stick to the metal format. Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah, we'll stick to 80s metal.
And one song per artist?
Sure.
But maybe there's maybe one or two bands might have two if it has to go that far.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, I like it. Now I'm excited.
I am too now.
I miss the 80s.
Oh, yeah. That reminds me, I had something for you.
Both of us.
Yeah. I had something for you at KeyCon I completely forgot to give you.
Oh, what was that?
I found my copy of, on tape, of Guar's This Toilet Earth.
What?
The original version, the one that had the one song that Guar actually censored themselves on.
Oh, are we allowed to say it on the air? I think you've told me about this before, and the title might not be appropriate, considering what we started the show with.
Yeah. Well, it's listed on the tracks as BDF.
Yeah, we talked about this before. Yeah,
Yes.
we're not going to say what that is. But anyway, yeah, GWAR have. I mean, we're both pretty big fans of GWAR, but GWAR does offend a lot of people.
Yeah, but they go out to offend people.
Yeah. But I think they're not racist or homophobic.
Oh no, they've actually had a lot of songs.
Humanist, or the opposite of humanist. Why is humanist not considered a bad thing?
Yeah,
shouldn't it be the opposite? Like, I hate humans. I am a humanist.
Yeah,
really,
actually,
they are.
There was a lot of songs where they definitely called out Nazi skinheads.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know,
very true.
one of their earliest songs off of not this Toilet Earth, off of Scumdog's Universe. They actually execute a Nazi skinhead on stage.
Oh yeah.
By giving him one more haircut, real close to the shoulders, like.
But basically, yeah, just for those that are offended by GWAR, but please keep in mind that they, like I said, they're humanist, the evil version of that word. They hate all humans, and especially stupid ones, and those are generally the ones that they go after. Like Trump, yeah, of course they're going to go after Trump, but they also go after other artists that have done very stupid or bad things, and they're not. They don't attack any particular group. They attack the human race because let's be honest, the human race is pretty fucking dumb.
Yeah.
We are a horrible species.
They don't discriminate.
Yeah.
They'll kill anybody.
Yeah, exactly. They're racist against the human race. Yeah. So, afterthoughts of KeyCon.
Well, I had a really good time, actually. The first night I didn't leave my room much because, that whole social anxiety thing. It seems like the older I get, the less I want people.
Yeah.
But, the Saturday night that we had, I had a really great time. It was just, nice being able to catch up with, Clay and, spending time with you and Todd and James and...
Yeah, but it's funny though. Like, I think the most enjoyable thing was it was an excuse, really, for all of us to get together.
Yeah.
So it's not like KeyCon itself was great, but it was because we all happened to be in the same building at the same time.
Well, I think KeyCon actually this year was actually really good. I mean, I really enjoyed the MCs, the Kamikaze Snowmen.
What I saw them at was really good, and I kind of wish I could have seen. Did they end up doing a performance on Saturday at all?
I believe they had a performance on Sunday. I didn't actually go to it.
Oh. See, I think... Now, do you remember several years back, I mean, we're always going to criticize KeyCon, but at the end of the day, we actually really love KeyCon. But we criticize because we love it.
Yeah.
But do you remember back in the old days, they had... I think they did this, but on the Saturday... I mean, I know the social is like the big standout thing that they do on Saturdays, but did they not have a concert at the social or preceding the social? Because remember when they had... Like, didn't they ever do
Not
that?
always.
No?
No. That was on rare occasions, depending on who was putting the social together.
Right.
Yep. So, no, that wasn't a standard thing. It was actually the exception rather than the rule.
Because I'm trying to remember, because I remember watching, like, was it Luke Sky or Luke Ski? I can't remember.
Luke Ski, yeah.
Was watching him perform, and that was, like, one of my favorite parts of that year. Because it was, like, it was a concert. I like concerts. I like seeing people perform. And I remember that was a standout. And the social, for me, has never been as much of a standout. I mean, it's fun, but I'm not going to spend 4 hours at the social.
Yeah.
But I would definitely spend an hour at a concert or an hour and a half at a concert.
Yeah, and again, it comes down to who's chairing the convention, the con chairs. What sort of how they envision their convention to be.
Right.
So every convention is going to be different. Every convention is going to have its own idea, its own theme.
Yep.
And
I think generally, like that Saturday though, that is like one thing that they're always afraid to change.
Yeah, well, I mean, the social's always kind of been a big thing. It's one chance for a lot of people to get out and dance. That again, a lot of people. Let's face it, Spanish people have social anxiety. They don't like to go to the bars with the normies.
Oh yeah, very true.
The mundanes, right? So this is one of the big chances during the year to actually get out and do something like this without having to deal with the type of people that you run into bars.
Yeah, the people that used to pick on us in high school and shit.
Yeah.
All the cool people.
Those cool guys.
Yeah, you know what? That's true. That is the thing I do like about the social is that if I want to go to the social and dance and I didn't go into the social at the moment with anybody, I can just go in the dance floor and dance with whoever's there.
Exactly.
Like it's kind of like everyone, looks after each other and everyone's kind of having fun together. And, if you got nobody to dance with, well, you can definitely dance with people like that. I do like that aspect of it.
It's a chance to be social.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, I know the social has ebbs and flows, and it hasn't been as solid as it has been in the past. And I know we can't have that like we had it before because of whatever political reasons and other stuff that happened. But I remember back in the day, and not to diss this DJ. This DJ is doing the best he can, but it takes a very special person to control the dance floor all night long, and that's a really hard job to do. Being a performer myself, like it is damn near impossible to keep the crowd going the whole night, and it's a very hard skill to master. But I feel like we're just like this guy's going to get better every year. I think it's the same guy they've had the last few years. Is that correct?
I'm not entirely sure, to be perfectly honest. I haven't been to the social a lot.
But I think having a DJ that definitely interacts with the crowd is a bonus. I've been to a crap ton of weddings since I married into the Portuguese community, and I've seen great DJs and I've seen not so great DJs, and every great DJ always interacted with the crowd and found ways to, instead of just having people dance, like doing things that kind of force people to dance.
Yeah.
Being interactive with the crowd, and I don't just mean taking requests. I mean, you're a showman in a way. Like if you see like the DJs nowadays, the guys playing EDM and stuff, like it's kind of going more to that side of the spectrum musically, where these guys are interacting with the crowd, they're feeding off the crowd, and they're mixing the music based upon what the crowd is doing to keep the crowd flowing. Yeah. And that's really hard to do. Like if you have a DJ doing EDM and he's mixing his set, a lot of it's like a musician where you might extend this section a little bit longer because the crowd is really grooving to this section of the song.
Yeah.
So instead of just playing the song, you would mix the song and make sure it's extended because everyone's really dancing to that part. And it's that sort of not just hitting play, but actually being a DJ that mixes stuff that's, I think that would help it get a little bit better. I don't know, and having karaoke was kind of fun too.
That actually could be fun to do again.
But I don't know. I went into the social. It was in the smaller room, which we lost the big room to the other group that was in the convention this year, and it was kind of, I don't know. That room to me feels like the social room, the one that we lost this year. And
the social has actually been in several rooms in the Radissons. So.
Yeah. But you know the big one I mean, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. That room just has a different feeling to it.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I'd like to see having a live act again, like having those two performers, definitely a step in the right direction. I think they should have performers every year in some capacity.
Well, I mean, the years that we have the Anna K, it's definitely...
Those were peak years for sure.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun, again, she knew how to work the crowd.
But she was at everything. Like, I think that it created a sense of cohesiveness to everything that happened that year.
Yeah.
You know, like she was, I mean, not only did she do, you know, a crap ton of panels, but she also emceed every single thing, so you had that continuity. We have a, did you hear who's doing next year?
No, I haven't.
I can't remember his name, but he's really funny. He was one of the Minions the year I was a Minion.
Okay.
And he also, he's always interactive. He was interactive in the Masquerade this year. He actually tried to get the crowd to vote for one side or the other side.
Right.
For Gorgeous and...
Charles Lauder.
Yes. He's involved next year. He's the guy running it next year. He has a natural...
It's him and Chad McFarlane.
So who's... I'm sure I know Chad McFarlane.
He's to dress up as Captain Morgan.
Oh, okay. Got it.
He was Captain Morgan the year that we were Steve Rogers and Crazy Brittany.
Yes. So I'm actually pretty hyped for next year because that guy as an MC, he's able to MC. Like he has a natural comedic timing.
Well, he's a clown. He's a professional clown.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. So I mean, somebody like that is helpful, and they don't necessarily have to be a celebrity per se. They just got to be wit. Not to pull out of our geek pool or gene pool or whatever you want to say, but I mean, I think having Clay as a host or some sort of thing would be a good thing too. I mean, the guy's a comedian and he's funny, and you know, people know who he is. Like having that guy wouldn't hurt. What do you think of that?
Well, I think we should make it happen.
Okay, done. We're going to make it happen, folks. I actually really want to be a bit more involved with KeyCon next year.
Yeah, so would I.
I would like to do the weekend. To be honest, Saturday, I didn't have enough time to do anything. I felt like I just did everything I wanted to do for 5 minutes and nothing more than that. So I didn't really get into anything. But I also want to put out there is the weekend after KeyCon, there's a festival in Ontario called JoyCon.
Yes.
And
you've been promoting that.
Yeah, that looks pretty interesting too. And I was almost like, maybe one year I should just go do the other one.
Right.
Because I don't know if I can do both, and they're really too close together.
And it's expensive, especially, like us when we have kids.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, you'd be getting a room. You could actually drive there.
Yeah.
But you always have that option of going back home if you ever need to get stuff.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. And I don't know if that's a social type con or not.
Well, if anybody's been to JoyCon, hit us up and let us know.
If anyone's listening to the podcast, because I know some of you have, please message us. Let us know. I'd like to know what the experience is. And if anyone that has gone, I wouldn't mind getting someone on the air to kind of talk to us about it, and I'll put it up as an episode. Like I don't care, but I would like to get a feeling for what that con's like, and if it's worth the while. Like maybe I can take some time off and go out there and go visit and represent Meet the Geeks and Sean Geek podcast.
Well, we could always look at getting the organizers on the air too.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like anybody from over there, from JoyCon, you guys want to promote the con. You guys are so close to Winnipeg. It's a missed opportunity to not promote it a little bit stronger down in Winnipeg here. Like, there's a huge geek community that might be willing to go, take the drive out there and hit your con. This is our call out to you. All right. Well, I've made it home, sir.
Ready?
I'm not sure when this episode's going to get posted. I still have
a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff. I did edit down the panel we did.
Okay.
It's not going to be a great episode in that we had a slideshow at the same time, and a lot of the comments and references are to the slides that are on the screen. And there was a lot of funny comments that were made during the movie, which without the movie, it's so I took that out.
I've been kind of wondering if you should actually put together like a slideshow and, put it up on YouTube.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah,
let's do that.
Okay.
And where will you be able to find that slideshow, Corey?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think we could find that slideshow? There's probably a website that would put that up. I don't know which one it would be.
I think it might have been SeanMcGinnity.ca.
That's right. So, you know what? Actually, that's a good idea because now I do have all those pictures. I'll talk to Clay. The other thing I'd like to do, too, is I do want to take a look back at Meet the Geeks, and there was a few strips that we did as Mystery Science Theater. It might be fun to do a Mystery Science Theater as it relates to Evil Within.
Yeah. That would, that could be a lot of fun.
I think we have to, have the original Geeks, too, but maybe not just the original Geeks, but maybe get a couple of other Geeks in there, too. Or I don't know. We'll see what we can get.
We'll figure it out.
I think that'd be a lot of fun.
We're clever monkeys.
Yeah. And, yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to let you go.
Okay.
Have yourself a good weekend, sir.
Yeah, and we'll talk to you soon.
We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
See ya.